this rather snappy, won't you? I have some very heavy thinking to do before 10 o'clock.
Hey everybody, welcome to Get It Right, Texoma with the trio, Mike Hendren, Terry McAdams, Trey Sralla, all here with you. Glad to have you with us on this program. We're here to inform and entertain our audience. We appreciate you being here. We focus on a lot of events and news in the local area. We sprinkle in some regional and state and national stuff now and again, kind of basically talk about whatever we feel like, really. But anyway.
As long as it's cool.
Yes.
Yeah, we don't, if you're don't send us any information about your knitting club or something. No, we're probably not going to talk about it.
No, we're not into basket weaving.
Yeah.
Not yet. Not yet. We're not there yet.
Yeah, maybe a decade.
Maybe another 10 years down the road we'll be there, you know. And we're all sure talking like this. Anyway. And we do have guests from time to time, and we try to bring in some guests that are relevant and interesting and have something to share with you that's really important.
Yeah.
You know, we bring a lot of political guests.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. It's actually on the next show. We'll kind of talk about our guests and stuff like that.
You may know them and you may not know them. They may be famous or infamous.
But it's a good way to learn.
Infamous, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good way to get to know people.
Good way to get to know
This is a great way to get introduced perhaps to some people.
We're making connections.
Ooh. See there? See what he did there?
Yeah. So
if you're listening to the audio version, he's weaving his fingers together to show you the connection.
Look at your radio.
we have little things.
There was a gnat.
There was a gnat, yeah.
But so just basically
it's
share
dead now.
Right?
So it's gone.
Gadad.
Yeah.
All right. Well, anyway, we need you.
Oh my gosh.
We would appreciate you sharing it and help us get the word out. We're really building an audience, and you know, this transition from the live radio to a new format, this podcast format, is a different thing. But we need your help. This is how it grows.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you're just now catching us for the first time, we've got a library. So, or in some places, the library. Now, we have a library that goes back several. We've been doing this for several months.
Oh yeah, we are 40+
shows.
Yep. And so,
and does it? I don't even know if it does have the original iteration on there.
We
as
do
well?
have. This is season 2.
Yes.
And so everything prior to that, season 1, it was just we had before the live radio show was.
We kind of experimented with this a little bit, and okay, is this going to work? Is this not going to work? So the original episodes, the season 1 episodes, are going to be a little weird. So anyway, but no, seriously, they're good. It's all good stuff. We do all good stuff all the time. We think it's good anyway. But anyway, we need your help. If you'll like and share this information. Share about the show on all the social platforms, your Facebook friends, your Instagram family, your what do they? I don't know they call them friends on Instagram. I don't know what they call them. Well, anyway, just share with everybody.
Here's the thing: there is nobody doing local stuff in longer form like we are.
Nope.
You know, the news, and we have 2 news channels here in Wichita Falls, TV stations. They do a great job, but the problem is, and I've done a bunch of TV interviews.
I have too.
You do 10 to 15 minutes. And it's about a minute and a half, and who knows if it's taking in context or not. And I'm not knocking the way they do things. They just are constrained with time. Right. They got to get the sports and the weather and the yada yada and all this other stuff in. Whereas here, when we have a guest, a lot of times it'll be a entire show. It'll be a 30-minute show.
That's right.
Or if we have a topic, we won't just say one thing about the topic and one little tiny thing. We'll expound upon it.
That's right.
And we'll throw in our opinion. So you can either give a shit or not. So.
Okay. Well then,
extrapolate.
That sounds great. We'll get to the. There we go. We have the announcements there.
Well, let's talk about a couple things going on around here. Camp Riverbend. The camps are Monday through Friday, 8:30 to noon. The camp is for ages 4 to 11. It's $100 for Riverbend Nature Center members.
Well,
that's hard to say. And $110 for non-members. That's per child per camp in June and July. Now, for those of you that may not know, Riverbend Nature Center is just what it says. It's a nature center, a nature conservatory type place that sits right on the Big Wichita River in Wichita Falls. It's kind of in the heart of the city, really.
It really is. You're driving down. It's kind of in a part of an old neighborhood, and then the city, or I guess the bus barn or whatever they call it. But the city place where they store all their utility vehicles and maintenance vehicles and stuff like that.
City maintenance offices.
And you're driving by, and all of a sudden, there's this big building up on a hill.
Looking.
Yeah,
cool
really neat looking,
facility.
and it kind of looks like an office building when you look from the distance. But you get up there, and then you start to see, and it's got nature trails, and it's like you said, a conservatorium. It's an awesome place.
Yeah, the large glass building that you'll see, that's where they had the butterflies and some other collections in there. There's some offices in there, but yes, that's where it's at. It's right next door to Lucy Park.
Right, and they've got critters. You can go in there, and you can see the critters. They have docents that walk around and talk to you about the critters and give you some information on them. Yeah. They have a habitat in there. It's a really neat place to go.
Well, in fact, we're going to have their fearless leader as a guest on this show.
Yes, we will.
Very soon.
She'll be here in July.
Jenica Lambert.
Jenica Lambert will be with us in July. So that's coming up. Campfire Day Camps, June 10th through the 28th, Monday through Friday, 1st through 8th grade. And it's $150 per child for 1 week. They feed breakfast and lunch. They have security. They give free swimming lessons as well for all the campers. It's a really cool program. A lot of children have gone through this Campfire Day Camp over the years. And a matter of fact, a lot of the volunteers that work with Campfire, they were children who grew up in these programs.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
And they went on to become, there's a few of them, a handful of them that went on to become employees of Campfire over the years, and many who have become volunteers that give their time each summer to these programs. So,
and it's at Harold Park, which Harold Park is actually not too far from Roofer Bend Nature Center, ironically.
They're all right there together.
Yes, but Harold Park is a park that's right next to Lucy Park, which are right off of Seymour Highway or 5th Street. Kind of depends on where your mind is on that. It's kind of tucked away back in a neighborhood, but it's this park that was donated to Campfire many years ago, and they have all their recreational stuff there, and they have a nice pool. And the pool is really nice. It's a relatively new pool. I think it's less than 10 years old.
I'm pretty sure it is, yeah.
And so it's a new pool. It's a real nice facility, and great people. Yeah, and by the way, their leader is going to be on with us in July as well, Erica Munt.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. If you want more information, campfirentx.org is the website, campfirentx.org. You can go there. You can find all the the entry information, pay your fees. You can learn all the information you need to know. Or you
can pick up the phone and call them. You can just Google search their phone number, or go to their office that's on the corner of 9th and
Denver.
No, Fillmore. 9th and Fillmore. And you go in there and you can ask questions. You can ask questions.
There you go. You're having about as difficult a time as I am today. This weather has gotten.
Had a little rain this morning.
Oh God! Well, outright thunderstorm.
It's gonna be one of these. It's back to trying to mow between rainstorms these days.
Yeah, I was talking to someone yesterday, a friend who's in that business, and. So, it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's a blessing because having all this rain now kind of ensures work going into at least the early part of the summer.
Oh yeah. Oh, well into the summer, yeah.
Okay. But at the same time, you start falling behind because it's so wet you can't mow.
Yeah.
You can't do the work you need to do.
It is affected.
Cuts into your income, and it puts you behind because you got customers that, and of course the thicker the grass gets, the longer it takes to mow it, the more complicated the work is. It just
be ready to mow, folks. I mean, this Bermuda is going to grow, and it's still going to grow for a while, even if it quits raining tomorrow. With as much moisture as we've had, as much moisture's in the ground, and with the heat that has been here, this grass is going to grow. We may be mowing regularly into August.
Could be.
So we may be throughout 3 or 4 months. I mean, who knows?
Well, as of the day that we recorded this episode, May 30, we probably had 3 to 4 inches of rain in the northern part of the county this morning.
Right.
And I don't know how much here in Wichita Falls proper, but that was a pretty serious storm. Well, they had to issue a warning on it this morning.
I always want to know where the improper part of town is. I always hear about Wichita Falls proper, Henrietta proper, but I never hear about improper.
That's where they're mostly naked, Trey.
Is that I wouldn't know about things like that. Mike Hendren.
Well,
Pervo.
Just don't get drunk.
So does Wichita County have a red light district or something? Is that what you're saying?
Well, it used to many years ago. Yeah. In fact, it was right where you are now.
Yeah, you're right. Actually, It wasn't too many years ago. There was still there across the street from me.
Yeah, no kidding.
Not a building, by the way. Just we did have hookers that walked the streets. Less than 20 years ago. They've probably been gone for about 15 or 20 years from my part of the street of Scott Street.
Well, if y'all weren't there, I wonder.
I don't know. Well, I think when they kind of opened the MPEC up, they kind of started
pushing them.
They started kind of migrating. They were migrating down the road. No, seriously, when I was for the first decade of my career at Eddie Hill's Fun Cycles, it was pretty regular to see a couple hookers across the street. And people would say, "Are those hookers?" I go, "Yeah."
Yep.
Yeah,
They are.
So, all right.
Well, we'll move into some news here, shall we? Let's see here. What's going on? The Wichita Falls Railroad Museum.
Yes.
They signed a lease with the city. This has kind of been an ongoing thing now. The Railroad Museum had basically ceased operations a few years ago. Kind of ran out of money, ran out of steam. Some of the people,
ironically, the Railroad Museum ran out of steam.
Some of the people that were involved early on had died. There were things that just kind of fell apart.
Right.
And there was talk about these because there really is some history there. A couple of old engines, some old passenger cars, a couple of Pullman cars, I think.
Well, Wichita Falls at one time used to be called the city that Faith built, but also the city that the city built around the railroad.
Yes.
Yeah, the railroad originally built Wichita Falls. Was the catalyst for Wichita Falls growing.
We had a relatively large and relatively nice railroad depot down by the tracks. I guess this would be around Ohio Street. And then a few decades ago, the city leadership got drunk and decided to tear it down. And I'm blaming it on alcoholism because, what else? Anyway, no, I have no idea. They just decided, for whatever reason, they decided to tear down the railroad depot. And
there was an uproar.
And over a period of time, these railroad collections were put together, and we had a railroad museum. But unfortunately, it was not ever, I don't think it was ever open regularly. There was a lot of irregularity in it. Well, anyway.
You don't want irregularity in your life.
No, you really don't. No, especially when there's not a bathroom close by. So some folks got together. I think it's probably been about 2.5 years ago now that they really started in earnest to try to bring back the Railroad Museum. Well, now they have secured a lease with the city to reopen it. And they're going to host events like murder mystery parties, Christmas parades. They've got all these big plans. Now, hopefully all this comes together. I'm sure a lot of this is going to depend on two things: volunteers and donations, period.
And public interest will be the third.
Yes.
Because you could have all the stuff in the world, but if nobody shows up, they don't show up.
Then this is the thing. And I know this goes on in every city and every community. It's not just Wichita Falls, and this is everywhere. People sit around and whine and complain about there's nothing to do. Then things happen, and then you don't show up. People, you got to show up, buy the ticket, put your butt in a seat, go to the concert, go to the comedy show, go to the Railroad Museum, go to these things. Show an interest and show up.
Yeah.
And things will succeed. But it depends on you. It depends on me. It depends on all of us. We've got to show up and support
you individually.
These things.
Every person watching right now, 100% depends on you. It's just like Smokey the Bear. Only you can prevent forest fires.
And only you can make the Railroad Museum a success.
There you go.
Well, imagine by
the way, the Smokey the Bear thing, that was a lot of pressure to put on a little kid. I'm sitting there watching cartoons in the morning, and I got this big bear telling me that I'm the only person in the world that can prevent a forest fire.
Yeah.
What a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Weight on your shoulders for a little kid, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
What an asshole, Smokey the Bear.
Just a jerk. What a jerk.
As far as this goes, though, I don't know anything about this as far as those events, but I would imagine that it would be smart to coordinate some things with the murder mystery and that kind of stuff, and maybe some of the other organizations, the theaters that we have. I'm guessing that would be
I bet that's in the plans.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what they've got a Facebook page. If you'll go to Facebook and just search for Wichita Falls Railroad Museum, you'll find them.
Yeah.
But I had someone on radio show with me, the former radio show.
They were on with all of us on a Thursday morning.
Yeah, it's been a couple of years ago.
The lady who's kind of heading the thing up. I don't recall her name.
I'm sorry, her name. I just drew a blank on it. But anyway, go to Facebook, search for Wichita Falls Railroad Museum. You'll find more information about them, and you can learn more about it and learn how to get involved. I mean, they're going to need volunteers, guys. They're going to need some help.
Yeah, if you're into trains or that sort of thing or history, it's also a history of Wichita Falls.
It really is.
If you're into that, this would be a good place to start.
It really is, and there's a lot more history in this community than some people realize.
Downtown Wichita Falls is full of history. Not only that, Country Club is full of history. If you've never driven to Country Club, you ought to go. Wichita Falls, at one time, Wichita Falls had more millionaires per capita than anywhere in the United States.
Yep.
We have a country club area that has some mansions that would rival some of the stuff that's in Turtle Creek and Dallas and stuff. It's just a smaller area. Yeah. So there's some beautiful, gorgeous old houses in Wichita Falls, and then a lot of the preservation of the stuff downtown. There's a lot of history here in Wichita Falls.
Yep.
Well, let's see here. Fanny Willis, a name that has...
Is it Fanny or Fanny?
I'm going with Fanny because that's what I keep hearing.
I was going to say, was she? It's how did you grow up? Did you grow up Fanny and then decided you wanted to zhuzh it up and become Fanny when you got older, or not? I just don't, and I don't know.
Yeah. Well, kind of like Duval, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
They built a couple of casinos, and that's Duval.
Duval, yeah, it was old Devol. Yeah, that's exactly right. It's Devol, Oklahoma.
Sounds fancy.
Duval, Oklahoma.
Yep.
All right.
Anyway, Fanny Willis suggests the creation of the Georgia prosecutorial oversight panel. She says it's racially motivated.
Shocking. Fanny Willis played the race card. I cannot believe it.
She said the creation of this oversight panel is racially motivated.
Well, it must be true then, because Fanny Willis said it.
Okay, so it's a board that it was approved by the GOP-controlled state legislature earlier this year, signed into law by Governor Brian Kemp in March. They'll have the power to discipline and remove prosecutors from cases in Georgia found to have engaged in misconduct.
This is all based on what's going across the country. You've had these ultra-liberal DAs and left-wing DAs that have been put in. A lot of them have been backed by George Soros.
Yes.
That are going into communities and literally destroying these communities by not prosecuting crime.
Yes.
And Georgia said, we're not going to put up with this. We're going to form this committee. It's not a GOP. It's not like they got a bunch of people in the Klan to go do this thing. She's throwing out the race thing. It's a group of people that has been put together for oversight of DAs and making sure that they're following the law.
Well, and I'll tell you something, and I've been saying this for years, and you guys know, you've heard me say this. When you are in a position of power, whether you're an elected official or an appointed official, doesn't matter as far as I'm concerned. When you're in a position of power where you have the ability to exert and exercise a great deal of power over a large number of people, you more than anybody have to toe a certain line, and there needs to be oversight over you.
Of course.
You have to live to a higher standard. You have to behave to a higher standard.
In your position.
In your position.
I don't care what you do on your own time if you're not
right.
You're right.
I don't care about your personal life.
Yeah.
But in the capacity of your job and anything that you do that impacts or could impact your position and the power you exercise over people, you deserve to be under a microscope, and you have to live to a higher standard than the average person. You just do.
Well, you're actually talking about prosecutors can actually take people's civil liberties away.
That's right.
That's huge. Or a police officer, that is enormous power. You can actually take people's civil liberties for a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And it may be temporary, whatever it is, but you can actually suspend people's constitutional rights for a short period of time.
Which is nuts. The idea,
not all of it, but some of it.
The idea that your constitutional rights can be suspended just because someone wants to do that, and
by the whim of one person.
Exactly. This is why, and I'm gonna kind of dovetail this into another topic real quick here. I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but many of you have probably heard of red flag laws. a red flag law, and I think there are 16 or 18 U.S. states that currently have red flag laws on the books. Here's how a red flag law works in a nutshell. This is the Reader's Digest version. Joe Smith over here owns firearms. Joe Smith has a dispute with one of his neighbors. They get into an argument. Joe Smith's neighbor picks up the phone, calls the police, and says, hey, this is Mr. Jones. Mr. Joe Smith over here is angry at me, he's screaming at me, he's cussing at me, he's raising hell with me. Oh, by the way, he's got guns, and I think he's a danger to himself and others. The police open an investigation. They go and they talk to Mr. Smith. They determine that, yeah, he's got a beef with his neighbor, and yeah, he does own guns too. Then they can go to a judge and go, hey, Mr. Judge, Mr. Smith over here has got guns, and he's an angry guy, and we think he's a danger to society. Judge signs an order, and the police go, hey, Mr. Smith, we're here to confiscate your firearms. And if Mr. Smith resists, well, he could be shot. I mean, guys, this is not an exaggeration. That's a bit of oversimplified, but that's basically how it works. Well, if a judge signs an order under a red flag law, they can take your firearms away from you, even if you've not threatened anyone with a firearm.
Well, here's the reality here too. If take firearms out of it, if somebody in your family, usually, or some friend or something can, even in Wichita County, can just go file just a paper. They don't even have to go through a judge. Now, there's and get somebody submitted to put into a mental hospital.
Yes.
And they have, I think it's 72 hours once they're in there to determine whether they're a danger to themselves. But that alone is, that's an enormous amount of power. But you are stating that and making a legal statement.
These things are done under the guise of your safety and your security and so forth, and society's safety and security, which of course is a bunch of bull crap.
Because basically what that is that's just an add-on to it. Because clearly, if they're going to take your guns away, why wouldn't it just be the next step to get you put into a mental hospital? If you can't be at home and be safe, regardless of whether there's firearms in the house.
Here's where I'm making the connection. You got unchecked officials in government doing things against citizens, against law-abiding citizens, suspending their constitutional rights, suspending their liberties, all in the interest of safety, security, or the interest of the public good or whatever.
Oversight,
and I applaud them. Stuff. But by the way, just to remind you, Fanny Willis, however you want to say it, she's the lead prosecutor who's brought a case against Donald Trump.
That's right.
She happened to hire a gentleman, a guy who had never prosecuted a criminal case.
Yep.
Paid him a ton of money, and oh, by the way, was boinking him. They were going on vacations together and that sort of thing. So, and she was paying him back in cash. That was the other thing. He was paying for all this stuff. So this is where the problem comes in. Even if what she says is true, which is it would be a very coincidental thing.
Yeah.
Okay. But even if what she said is true, you ought to be, if you're in a position like that and you're a DA, you ought to be smart enough to understand that you need to have a paper trail for everything. So if you are going on a vacation with your boyfriend and he's being paid by the county, there again, that could be you getting a benefit of county funds. What you need to be sure is, and if he's going to put everything on his American Express card, and when you pay him back, you need to write a check. You need to have a paper trail. That way, when this comes up and they say how, you don't say, oh, I've got a lot of cash. I got cash stored in my house, as opposed to, here's the check. And even if it's true, I like to pay with things in cash too, even if it's true. But I'm smart enough to know if it's something I need to have a paper trail, I need to have a paper trail.
They're attorneys. That is all about the paper trail.
Exactly. Yeah. None of these people work at McDonald's.
Right.
And the highest they got was graduated to fry cook. I mean, these people are all educated attorneys.
These are people that are earning hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to do what they do. They're paid very handsomely for their positions. And again, this goes back to, though, we talk about your personal life. This is a situation where, in Fanny Willis's case, something that she was doing in her personal life on her time was potentially having a direct impact on her job, on her partiality as a prosecutor, on her commitment and her responsibility to the public. Things that she was doing in her personal life and engaging in could have had a direct impact on how she was doing her job and how she was conducting her work and carrying out her responsibility.
Yep.
This is why when you're in a position of power like this, you have got to live to a higher standard, and you have to be under a microscope, and you should expect to be.
And not only expect, you should accept it.
Yes.
Well, the thing is, once again, what's one of the common things that police say? Hey, you don't have anything to worry about. If you don't have anything wrong, what do you have to do to worry about?
Yeah.
Hey, I bet you Fanny Willis has used that thing in her in her prosecutorial career. Hey, Mr. Suspect, if you hadn't done anything bad, you don't have anything to worry about. Okay, Fanny, you hadn't done anything bad, you don't have anything to worry about, right?
Well, the fact
what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
The fact that the legislature has seen fit to create a prosecutorial oversight committee, panel, they're calling it, the fact that they've seen fit to have to do that tells you there's something wrong.
Oh, absolutely.
That tells you there's something wrong.
Well, I think they're being preemptive because what's going on in the nation.
I understand that.
Yeah, I don't know that. I don't think this was directed at Fanny Willis.
I don't think it is either, but it's a direct result of her actions and her behaviors and things that she said.
I don't think it's
and
just
done.
her, though. I think she's part of it, but I think it's more than just her.
I think she's the driving force, definitely.
I think they're looking at what's happened in Seattle and looking at Portland.
Of
That's
course
what I'm saying.
Yeah,
I think they're looking at globally what's going on in the United States and New York.
She's just one more cog in that wheel.
I totally agree. She's one of them, but I don't think she is the whole catalyst of them doing this whole oversight committee simply because of her. I think, and she's throwing that out there because she's black, because there's a certain amount of people that are black.
But here's her statement: all of a sudden, 14 minorities were elected to office to serve as district attorney. Now, I guess that's in the state.
In the state of Georgia.
Okay, and now all of a sudden they need an oversight committee to look after district attorneys because they want to tell us how to prosecute and who to prosecute and where we should put our resources, as opposed to allowing the voters to put us in the seats to make those determinations. She's just pulling that card.
She's throwing it out there. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. This is a result. What I'm saying is I don't think this is a result of Fanny Willis, minorities in Georgia, or just what's going on in Georgia. I think this is a result of what's going on in the country, and I think you're going to see more and more of this in states to have this oversight because it is ruining cities. You have cities that are burning. You have cities that are being ruined, and then you go a thing like, and for instance, the Donald Trump thing. So you have a district attorney in New York, and they're spending millions of taxpayer dollars. Look, I don't care. Look, if Donald Trump's guilty, he's guilty. If he's not, he's not. I don't give a shit about that part. What I'm talking about is, if I was a New York City taxpayer, you're spending my tax dollars, millions of tax dollars, to prosecute this thing on a thing. Which look, even if the guy is convicted, and even if he was convicted, it's a first-time felony. Anybody in the world would get a slap on the wrist, okay? We're trying to get the guy thrown in jail, but yet you have people committing murders and all kinds of stuff in your city, and you're doing fuck all about it.
And how much money are they going to have to spend for any accommodations for Trump's security alone?
First of all, I don't think you can throw him in jail. Because look, as far as I'm aware, and I don't know, this would be kind of an interesting test.
It never happens.
This would be an interesting test. The Secret Service is obligated to protect Donald Trump.
And they would have to be in the prison with him.
Well, not just that. I walk up there and all of a sudden you want to put cuffs on me. You're attacking me. So who's got the higher level of standard? The Secret Service federal police or the city police who wants to put handcuffs on me? Because the fact of the matter is I feel attacked. So now what happens? Does the Secret Service shoot the police? I know this is getting a little crazy.
Oh, yeah, I know.
But it almost could be that way because if I feel like my life is threatened as a president of the United States, and if I felt like my life is in danger, or I'm being physically attacked or assaulted by something, I don't think you could go to the president of the United States and punch him and get away with it. So can you put handcuffs on him and get away with it?
Yeah. So here's the thing. This is something to consider. The Secret Service has a legal obligation to protect the president, even if Donald Trump does not win re-election in November.
Yeah. For the rest of his life.
For the rest of his life, he is entitled to Secret Service protection. If he were to actually be put in prison, which he's not going to be, if he were to actually be put into prison, you would have to put Secret Service agents in the prison with him.
Right.
Who are going to have to be armed
and protected themselves,
and they're going to have to depend on the protection of the guards in the facility where the ex-president's being housed.
Yeah,
guys, Donald Trump's not going to prison. The layers of complication here are almost immeasurable.
They're exponential.
Right. You just can't. You can't even begin to imagine the complexity here. The hoops that you would have to jump through,
and the amount of money it would cost taxpayers.
You can't take an ex-president and put him in prison with a bunch of murderers and rapists and child molesters. You can't do that. You would have to construct a facility specifically to house this man,
or tell him you have to got to go to your Mar-a-Lago, or you have to be in prison.
You're under house arrest, and you can't walk further than the mailbox for the next 30
even
years.
if he was convicted of murder,
right?
They're not losing track of him.
How are the people in New York City still voting for these clowns? Why are they not running recalls on everybody out there?
I don't know.
They are spending the New York City taxpayer money to house illegal aliens, to prosecute this crazy prosecution of Donald Trump. I mean, New York City taxpayers are on the hook for millions and millions of dollars of bullshit.
All I can tell you,
and they're just sitting there and scooping it up and eating it.
All I can tell you guys is this: is I think part of it is so few people actually vote.
Yeah,
and even fewer people actually have a
something
clue.
Something should get you fired up. If this doesn't get you fired up, then what will?
We're gonna wrap this up here, guys. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Get It Right Texoma. It's brought to you by the way, Eddie Hills Fun Cycles, 401 North Scott, downtown Wichita Falls. EddieHillsFunCycles.com. MacTech Solutions, 4020 Ray Road here in Wichita Falls. Right, your Apple authorized reseller and service provider in Texoma is MacTech Solutions, 4020 Ray Road, Suite 3B, MacTech-Solutions.com. And Lolly and Pop Sweet Shop, your source for fantastic pies and cookies and pralines and seasonally king cakes as well, and other things that we're working on too. Be watching our Facebook page or find us online at LPSweet.com.
There you go.
It's Lolly and Pop Sweet Shop on Facebook, but LPSweet.com for the webpage. Guys, until next time, take care. See you down the road.